She didn't fire me. She didn't write me up. She didn't criticize my work. No, my boss, Dana Herricks, did something worse. She marked me as a Streamline target. A cold little phrase buried deep inside the company's restructuring matrix, used by executives during mergers to quietly identify the people they planned to remove later, legally, cleanly, and without severance. A term invented to erase human beings like data entries. I discovered it by accident. A misrouted spreadsheet landed in my inbox at 11:42 p.m., sent by an analyst who had no idea the file wasn't meant for me. I opened it thinking it was another quarterly projection. Instead, I saw my name highlighted in red. Category: non-essential/Streamline target. And next to it, a scheduled elimination date, just 2 weeks away. 2 weeks after 12 years of saving this company from catastrophic errors, plugging security holes, preventing 3 near failures caused by the very managers who now wanted me gone. Dana, the CFO with a smile as sharp as her stilettos, had labeled me non-essential. The same Dana who took credit for my work in meetings. The same Dana who once said, "You think too much like an engineer, not enough like a capitalist." She wanted me gone quietly. Neatly. Without a complaint. What she didn't know was that the person she targeted was the same person who built half the digital infrastructure the company depended on. And she had just given me the perfect reason to use every piece of it. Because if Dana wanted to streamline me out of her company, I would streamline the company out of her hands. Just as efficiently. Just as neatly. But with results she could never recover from. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my apartment with the glow of the leaked spreadsheet burning into my eyes, replaying every meeting, every smirk Dana had given me, every time she talked over me while presenting my work as her own. She thought I wouldn't fight back. She thought I would bow out quietly. She forgot that I knew the company better than anyone, because I built the backbone she now stood on. By 3 a.m., I had a plan that didn't involve hacking, sabotage, or anything illegal. No, what I had was far worse for her: proof. Documentation. Compliance weapons. And the one clause she never bothered to read. Dana had always mocked me for being overly meticulous, but that meticulousness meant I kept everything: emails, authorization logs, financial trails, duplicated cloud backups, archived dashboards, and most importantly, the contractual continuity clause. Most employees never saw it. Hell, most executives never read it. But 12 years ago, when I helped build their enterprise accounting system, the company rewarded me with an executive tier contract, never updated, never revoked, but still binding. It said that if any department made financial decisions using systems I had architected, designed, or implemented, I automatically became a required signatory for any restructuring that affected those systems. I was literally written into the corporate machinery. Dana had either forgotten this, or never knew. Which explained why she was about to walk into a wall she couldn't see. The next morning, I walked into the office with the same calm expression I always wore. Not angry. Not shaken. Just quiet. Focused. Dana was in the glass conference room with the COO and 2 lawyers, going over the final restructuring plans. I could see the spreadsheet on the screen behind her, the same one with my little red box. She didn't notice me pass. Of course she didn't. People only notice what they value. I headed straight for the compliance department. They knew me. They trusted me. I'd saved them more times than they could count. "Morning, Tom," I said to the head compliance officer. "Found something concerning last night. You'll want to see it." He looked at the document. His eyebrows shot up. "This clause, this is real?" "Fully enforceable," I said. and they're about to complete a restructuring that directly affects systems under my contractual authority. Without my signature. He exhaled sharply. Then the entire process is void. Worse, I said. If they proceed without me, it triggers a mandatory audit, internal and federal. His eyes widened. I leaned in, lowering my voice just enough, and you know what that audit will find. Because I had the files. The logs. The quiet financial manipulations Dana had been running through system loopholes I created, loopholes I documented thoroughly. Not illegal on their face, but damning when examined in context. We'll handle it, he said, panic rising in his voice. No, I said calmly. You'll document it. Not hide it. Not soften it. Document it exactly as required. He nodded slowly. He understood. This wasn't a threat. This was procedure. And procedure was now my greatest weapon. By noon, the building was buzzing. The restructuring had been halted. Dana stormed into my office like a hurricane. What did you do? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't stand. You attempted a restructuring without the required signatory. What required? I slid the contract across my desk. Her face drained of color as she read the clause. This can't still be valid. It is. You're doing this because we flagged you for role optimization? Streamline target, I corrected. Let's use the right term. She swallowed hard. You can't stop the merger, she said. I'm not stopping anything, I replied. Policy is. But the board just received notification of a mandatory independent audit, I said. Triggered automatically by your department's unauthorized restructuring attempt. She froze. Because now she understood. My retaliation wasn't emotional. It was systemic. And by the time the audit finished, they would uncover every financial sidestep she had taken, every discrepancy she hid inside budget reallocations, every creative adjustment she made to pad quarterly results. She wasn't facing termination. She was facing complete professional collapse. Her voice cracked for the first time since I'd known her. You planned this. No, I said truthfully. You triggered it. Dana staggered back a step, like the carpet had been yanked out from under her. For the first time since she'd taken over, she wasn't the predator in the room. She was the one cornered. And she knew it. The audit team arrived faster than even I expected, 2 independent firms and 1 federal liaison, all moving with the silent, clinical efficiency of people who'd seen 1,000 corporate disasters and were already bracing for one more. You could feel the tension spreading through the building like a slow leak of poison. The executives whispered in hallways, the managers avoided eye contact, and the younger employees traded rumors like currency. Everyone knew something was wrong. No one knew how deeply it went. But I did. Because while the audit team spread out, digging into financial systems, server logs, email archives, and restructuring drafts, I sat quietly at my desk and answered every question they sent my way. Who authorized this? Nobody. Why was there no signatory? Because they tried to bypass me. Who had access to these loophole reallocations? One person, Dana. Every answer was a nail. Every document, a hammer. I wasn't destroying her. I was simply letting the truth do its job. By the 3rd day, her office became a revolving door, auditors in, auditors out, legal counsel whispering with increasingly strained faces. The COO avoided her entirely, walking long detours through the building just to avoid crossing her path. On the 5th day, her assistant quit. On the 6th, HR placed her on administrative leave. Not fired. Not suspended. Placed somewhere between drowning and being told to swim. That's when she found me again. I was in the server room, reviewing access logs for the auditors. She stood in the doorway, shadows under her eyes, mascara smudged, posture stiff, but not from confidence. From fear. "You're enjoying this," she said quietly. "No," I replied. "I take no pleasure in watching someone lose control of the fire they started." She exhaled shakily. "What happens now?" "The auditors will decide," I said. "The systems will decide. The board will decide." "And you?" she whispered. "I'm just following the contract." Her lips tightened. "It wasn't supposed to go this way." "No," I said. "It wasn't. You could have led. You chose to dominate. That's not leadership. That's insecurity wearing a stiff blazer." She dropped her gaze. "Is this revenge?" she asked. I didn't answer immediately. "It's accountability," I finally said. "Something you never thought would apply to you." She left slowly, shoulders hunched, steps heavy. 2 weeks later, the board held an emergency meeting. I wasn't invited, but I didn't need to be. I knew what the reports contained. I knew what the audit uncovered: misreporting, misuse of financial sub-accounts, unauthorized restructures, performance inflation, and enough negligence to bury a career 10 times over. When the doors finally opened, the board chair approached me. "Pack your things," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "You're moving to the top floor," he continued. "We need someone who understands the systems, the rules, and the consequences. Someone who can stabilize this place." "Stabilize?" I echoed. "And rebuild," he said. As interim COO. The promotion shook the building the same way the audit had. Some people cheered. Some feared. Some avoided eye contact like I was a walking execution notice. Dana didn't return. HR handled her exit quietly. And just like that, the company she tried to streamline me out of was now the company I was guiding forward. Not because I sought power. Not because I wanted revenge. But because the truth, once freed, has a way of rewriting hierarchies on its own. I didn't move into Dana's office right away. I could have. The board offered it. People expected it. Some feared it. But walking into that glass-walled space on day one would have sent the wrong message. I didn't rise because I was hungry for her chair. I rose because she built a throne on shortcuts, and the company finally saw the cracks. So instead of relocating upstairs, I spent my first days as interim COO walking the floors, introducing myself to teams she'd neglected, managers she'd intimidated, analysts she'd overworked and undercredited. I didn't need a title to lead. I just needed to listen. And for the first time in years, people felt heard. But just when the company started stabilizing, something unexpected happened. The board called another meeting, private, confidential, no assistants, no legal counsel present. When I entered, the mood was different. Not tense. Not desperate. Hopeful. The chair nodded toward a seat. "We have one more problem," he said. "Not operational. Not financial." He turned the papers over. Reputation. The audit findings weren't public, but rumors were already leaking. Anonymous posts on finance forums, whispers in investor groups, competitors sniffing around for weakness. "We need someone who can restore trust," the chair said. "A face the market respects. Someone who knows every inch of this company." I remained silent, waiting. "We want you to consider the permanent role," the CFO said. "Full authority. Full mandate. No interim label." It hit me sideways, not because I didn't expect it eventually, but because something about the offer felt symbolic. For 20 years, I was the quiet architect buried in the middle floors. For the last 6 months, I was the Streamline target, the disposable relic they were willing to cut loose. And now? They wanted me at the helm. But before I accepted, I asked the only question that mattered. What happens to the people who helped her operate the way she did? Silence. Exchanging glances. A subtle clearing of throats. I understood immediately. They expected me to clean house. To be the scalpel. To finish what the audit started. No, I said finally. They blinked. Excuse me, the CFO murmured. If I take this role, it won't be as an executioner. This company doesn't need more fear. It needs structure, transparency, and rebuilding. I won't burn down what can be fixed. The board chair leaned back, studying me with rare intensity. You're turning down absolute authority, he asked. I'm turning down ego, I said. Authority comes with trust. And trust is earned, not inherited. They whispered among themselves. 2 minutes. 3. Then the chair spoke again. Then you are exactly the leader we need. The announcement hit the company like a controlled explosion, loud, powerful, but contained. Some people celebrated openly. Some cried quietly. Some stared in disbelief. Because for the first time in this company's history, someone from the middle, not a shareholder's child, not a board member's nephew, not a polished Ivy League climber, had risen to the top. A builder. Not a destroyer. Dana, meanwhile, faded into silence. Her exit package was reduced to the bare minimum allowed by law. There was no lawsuit, she knew she wouldn't win. No interview, she knew better than to open old wounds. The board never asked me to sign off on anything involving her again. They knew I didn't need the satisfaction. Some victories don't require a battlefield. On my first official day as permanent COO, I finally entered the office that once belonged to her. It had been cleaned, polished, and repainted, but the ghost of her arrogance still lingered, like stale perfume that refused to fade. I walked to the window overlooking the city. The skyline was different now. Or maybe I was. 20 years ago, I walked into this building eager to help build something meaningful. And ironically, it took being marked for streamlining to remind me of my own value. I didn't destroy her. I didn't sabotage her. I didn't undermine her. I simply followed the rules she never believed applied to her. In the end, that was enough. And as I stood there, watching the morning sun break across the glass towers, one truth settled deeper than anything else: the strongest revenge is competence, with patience sharp enough to become destiny. The real test came 3 months later. By then, the chaos had quieted. Departments had reorganized. Audits had passed with clean marks. Employees no longer walked on eggshells. But stability isn't the same as progress. A company that survives a scandal is still fragile, like a building standing after an earthquake, solid enough to use, but full of hidden fractures. I knew that if we didn't reinforce it now, someone else, another Dana with sharper heels and a bigger smile, would eventually rise and repeat the cycle. So I began the most ambitious project of my career, rebuilding the company's culture from the inside out. The transparency framework, the first change I introduced, stunned everyone. Every department head, myself included, had to submit a monthly transparency report summarizing every vendor contract, every budget change, every role elimination, every role justification, every conflict of interest, every deviation from protocol. No more closed-door reshuffling. No more manager discretion loopholes. No more invisible mistakes. At first, executives resisted. This is too invasive. This slows us down. This isn't how corporations work. But after what happened with Dana, none of them had the leverage to oppose me publicly. The board backed me. Compliance worshipped me. Employees trusted me. And slowly, the opposition dissolved. Slowly, the company began to breathe differently, less fear, more clarity. The one-on-one meetings every day, I met with a different employee, randomly selected by HR. Not managers. Not directors. Not lobbyists. Actual workers. Analysts, assistants, developers, operators, interns, the people corporate hierarchies usually forget exist. I asked the same simple questions. What's broken? What's unfair? What's slowing you down? What's being hidden? What's the truth no one will say in a meeting? At first, people were cautious. Traumatized, even. Corporate retaliation leaves invisible scars. But after the first few weeks, messages started appearing in my inbox. Thank you for listening. I've never been asked this before. I didn't think anyone cared. Employees began opening up. And what they revealed reshaped everything. The underbelly of mismanagement, it wasn't corruption, not this time. It was apathy. Layers of middle managers who had grown comfortable doing nothing. People promoted for loyalty rather than ability. Talented employees buried under bureaucrats who couldn't explain their own job titles. For every Dana who abused power, there were 10 others who simply wasted it. And that, in the long run, is even more damaging. I began quietly removing them. Not aggressively. Not with humiliation. Not with spectacle. Just efficiently. A meeting. A conversation. A mutual understanding. A transition. And every time one of them left, the teams beneath them grew faster, stronger, freer. The day the board called me again 6 months into my tenure, the board summoned me for another closed session. When I walked in, every chair was filled, serious faces, documents neatly stacked, screens on standby. My first instinct was that something had gone wrong. Instead, the chairwoman spoke softly. We underestimated you. I blinked. That's a strange way to begin a meeting. She slid a report across the table. Financial forecasts. Employee satisfaction scores. Public trust metrics. Partnership recovery stats. Vendor alignment efficiencies. All rising. All green. All ahead of the previous 5-year plan. You've restored something we lost years ago, she continued. Integrity, real integrity. And now we want to finalize something that should have been offered sooner. I waited. She took a breath. We'd like you to take the role permanently, as CEO. My mind emptied for a moment. Not out of shock, though it was shocking. But out of the weight of the offer. CEO. The role Dana always wanted, the one she maneuvered for, schemed for, clawed toward. A role I never chased, yet now stood inches away from. Why me? I asked quietly. A director answered, because you won without playing dirty. Another added, because people trust you. Another, because competence has finally beaten charisma. Another, because you built this company before. And you rebuilt it again. And the chairwoman finished, because you saved us. My decision looking around that room, I realized something profound. This wasn't revenge anymore. This wasn't climbing out of spite. This wasn't proving anyone wrong. This was destiny, forged through patience, precision, and a kind of justice that didn't need to be shouted to be felt. I nodded slowly. I'll accept, I said. But on one condition. The board exchanged wary glances. I leaned forward, hands folded on the table. We never, ever, use a term like Streamline target again. Relief washed across their faces. Agreed, the chairwoman said instantly. And just like that, a chapter of the company's history closed forever. Epilogue. The view from the top. I moved into the CEO office the next morning. Dana's shadow was gone. The fear was gone. The quiet dread was gone. In its place was sunlight, new hires buzzing with energy, teams collaborating without silos, and a culture rebuilt from ashes. Standing before the vast window overlooking the city, I finally understood. They didn't just fire the wrong person. They underestimated the wrong person. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is give power to someone who knows how to wield it responsibly.